All right, everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a look at something that you use every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Probably multiple times a day, too.
Absolutely.
It is, of course, money.
Yeah.
And, we're going a little bit beyond, dollars and cents here, thanks to the chapter that you sent in from the book Texto Pagado called Understanding the Basics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be our guide.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of uncovering all the ways that money shapes our world.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about money is that it really is a social construct.
Okay.
A shared idea that has taken on so many forms over time.
Yeah. Texto Pagado starts with a definition. And it's pretty simple.
Okay.
Money is anything widely accepted as payment for goods and services or repayment of debts.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes me wonder, what happens when that widely accepted part breaks down?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah,
that's where things get really interesting and sometimes even a little scary. Think about situations like hyperinflation,
right,
where people lose faith in a currency and suddenly that shared idea of money's value evaporates.
It feels like it's all built on something kind of shaky then.
A little bit.
Right. I mean, if everyone decides tomorrow that the dollar's worthless,
yeah,
it is, right.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And then Texto Pagado, it goes into all the different types of money that have existed. And it's wild to think, we started with commodity money.
Right.
Like actually using gold or even grain as payment.
Mm.
Could you imagine trying to buy groceries with a sack of potatoes today?
I mean, some people might argue that that's not that far off from what we do with credit cards, which is, representing a promise to pay later.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, those early forms of money, they had intrinsic value. They were useful on their own, not just as a medium of exchange.
But carrying around sacks of grain isn't exactly practical.
No, it's not very practical.
So we had to move on, right?
We did.
Like, what was the next evolution?
The next evolution, yeah. So the evolution of money has always been about finding more efficient ways to facilitate trade.
Okay.
So we see the rise of precious metals,
Okay.
like gold and silver,
Yeah.
more durable, divisible, easier to transport.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But even gold has its limitations.
It does.
You stick it in an ATM or something.
Yeah.
So enter paper money,
Okay.
which is kind of this promise
Right.
backed by something tangible.
Yeah.
And Texto Pagado talks about how governments kind of became really key players in this shift.
Oh, absolutely.
Issuing and regulating currency.
Yeah.
Did that central authority make things more stable, would you say?
I think it definitely made transactions smoother.
Okay.
But it also introduced new risks because the value of that paper money was now tied to the stability and trustworthiness of the issuing government.
So there's always this kind of trade-off.
There is.
Right.
Yes.
Between, the practicality and then also the security.
Yeah.
Which brings us to today, where most of our money is digital. Like we are almost living this Texto Pagado prediction.
It really is incredible.
Where we're barely using cash.
Yeah.
And we're relying on these digital promises of value.
Yeah.
Does that feel more secure to you? Less secure?
It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
I mean, digital money offers incredible speed and efficiency,
True.
but also vulnerabilities.
Okay.
Think about cyber attacks,
Yeah.
data breaches, even just technical glitches that can disrupt the entire system.
Wow. Okay, so we've seen how money has evolved from bartering to Bitcoin. We've gone through all these different phases.
We have.
But Texto Pagado gets into the functions of money. And I think this is where it gets really, really relevant to our daily lives.
Absolutely. These functions are the foundation of how money works, regardless of what form it takes.
Mm-hmm.
They explain why it's so vital to our economies and our societies.
Okay, so the first function is medium of exchange.
Right.
And that seems pretty straightforward. It's what allows us to buy a cup of coffee or get a haircut
Right.
without having to trade our skills directly.
Exactly.
But I never really thought about how much that simplifies everything.
It really does.
Right.
I mean, think about how much time and effort would be wasted if you had to find someone who needed your specific skill set in exchange for every single good or service that you wanted.
Yeah,
Money eliminates that,
it does.
allowing for specialization and increased productivity.
So money almost greases the wheels of the entire economy.
I love that analogy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's unit of account.
Okay.
Texto Pagado uses the analogy of a ruler.
Right.
Like money provides this common measure
Yes.
for comparing the value of totally different things.
Uh-huh.
Does that resonate with you?
Oh, absolutely, because it allows us to make rational decisions about what we buy and sell.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine trying to decide between a vacation and a new computer.
Yeah.
If you couldn't compare their prices directly,
Oh, my God.
it would be impossible.
That would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay, the next function is store of value.
Okay.
And this is where things get a little tricky, right?
Yeah, a little tricky because we all want our money to hold its worth.
Exactly.
But things like inflation can eat away at that.
Inflation, market crashes,
Exactly.
wars.
Yeah, all sorts of things.
All this stuff can affect the value of our money.
It's true. And, saving for the future is essential.
Right.
But understanding how factors like inflation and economic instability can impact your savings
Yes.
is crucial for making sound financial decisions.
Like money's value is always in flux.
It is.
It's constantly changing.
Yes.
And then finally, there's the standard of deferred payment.
Okay.
And Texto Pagado points out this is what makes loans and mortgages possible.
Right.
Basically buying something now
Mm-hmm.
and paying later.
Yeah, essentially it's the ability to buy something now and pay for it over a period of time.
Right. And that's, huge, right?
Huge.
Like that's how people buy houses.
Yeah, this function is essential for large purchases, like you said, houses,
Right.
investment in businesses, even just managing cash flow in everyday life.
Okay, so we've gone through these 4 core functions.
Yeah.
And, it's clear that money impacts way more than just our personal spending.
Oh, it does.
Texto Pagado highlights how it's deeply tied to the overall economy,
Right.
right? Like our money decisions
Yeah,
don't exist in a vacuum.
they don't.
How does money kind of facilitate the broader economy, would you say?
Well, it facilitates trade on a grand scale.
Okay.
It allows for global commerce and the flow of goods and services across borders.
So it makes all that possible,
Yeah, without it, we'd be in trouble.
right?
Yeah.
And fuels economic growth,
Oh, absolutely.
right? Like businesses need capital to invest, innovate, create jobs.
They do.
And that all comes back to money circulating through the system.
It all comes back to money. It's like the fuel
Yeah.
that keeps the engine running.
Right. If money stops flowing,
Yeah.
things grind to a halt.
Exactly.
But as with any powerful tool, there are risks, right?
There are?
Like mismanagement of money
Yes.
can lead to some really bad things.
Oh, it can.
Recessions,
Mhm.
inflation,
Yeah.
even financial crises,
Yeah, we've seen it happen.
which is why it makes Texto Pagado's emphasis on financial literacy even more important.
So important.
Right.
Yes.
Like the more you understand about how money works,
Absolutely.
the better equipped you are to make smart decisions.
You got it.
Not only for yourself,
Right.
but also you can see how it affects the bigger picture.
Exactly. And whether it's budgeting, saving, investing, even just understanding economic news, you know,
Yeah.
knowledge is key to navigating the complex world of finance.
Okay, so we covered a lot of ground today,
We did.
from, the history of money
Mm-hmm.
to its role in the global economy.
Yeah.
And I think, it's easy to take money for granted.
It is.
But hopefully this deep dive has given everyone listening a little bit more to think about. Texto Pagado leaves us with a question to ponder. Now that you have a deeper understanding of money,
Mm-hmm.
how might this knowledge change your approach to personal finances or your view of current events?
That's a great question.
Right.
It is.
And I think it encourages all of us to be, more mindful
Yes.
and informed participants in this system.
Absolutely.
That affects every part of our lives.
I agree.
Well, hey, thanks for diving deep with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We've only scratched the surface,
Yeah.
but hopefully this has sparked your curiosity
Mm-hmm.
about the fascinating world of money.
It is a fascinating world.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.